Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Mr. George Eke joins us now. He's a member of PDP and also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, interesting developments, and many thought that the Deputy Senate President was going to preside over the affairs yesterday, while the Senate President was going to attend, but that didn't happen. 80 senators eventually showed up in solidarity with the Senate President on that trial. What's your impression of what's going on so far?
Well, one of the times I came on this platform, I told you that the bulk of what is happening is political, even though a number of people were applauding the government at that point in time that they had, started their anti-corruption crusade. But I told them, to take it easy, because that was not the anti-corruption crusade we were expecting, that it was essentially political. If the CCB, out of several thousands of, declaration forms, on assets, chose to pick one particular form, and a form that was declared some 13 years ago, and they found some interest in it, that there is no other thing to it other than political, because it's not like they were looking at declaration of forms of quite a number of politicians. It was specific.
How do we know they were not looking at, and this one struck
at least
them?
To the extent that we do not know any other person who is standing trial, So I knew it was political, and I said it at that point in time, but it's now very obvious. And back to your question, the fact that...
Why do you say it's obvious? What makes it obvious?
80 Nigerian senators accompanied one person to the dock. There's no more powerful statement than that. It's like our principal or one of us is being persecuted, not prosecuted. And that we must show solidarity. There's nothing can make it more obvious than that. And that is the perception.
No, just a moment. That's the statement they've chosen to make.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't mean that that's what it is.
No, it means a lot. You see, that one thing I've noticed, and I do know, is perception forms a great part of reality. And that brings me to the idea of, the learned Silk talked about the lawyers apply the law to the facts as they exist. But it goes beyond that. And that is important. That is why it pains me, or at least I'm a little uncomfortable, that the Court of Appeal is being gradually dragged into this matter by way of speculation again, because everybody is like, you people mentioned that here. Why is it that they adjourned Senate die? And that question is not with this panel alone. It is in the streets. A determination is supposed to be made by the Court of Appeal so that the CCT can have a focus with regard to, does it have jurisdiction? Was the process properly done? Is it properly constituted by way of two people in the panel and all of that? That will give the CCT a focus. But the Court of Appeal did not do that. And like you have been asking lawyers, and everybody says, we do not know. And the reason is this: we can rationalize it as lawyers as that is the right of the court. The court can always adjourn sine die. That is why it is in the law book. They can adjourn indefinitely and say, look, when we are ready with this judgment, we will give you a hearing notice and you will come. But why at this moment? And one thing that also we do know as lawyers is that there are two courts that exist in life. Even though the former one is the one that we take our wig and hand to, there is another court outside the window, which is the court of public opinion. Incidentally, the regular court recognizes that court, even though it doesn't look like it does. When the court says, or when the law says, justice must be done, and justice must be seen to be done, we as lawyers, we know that it is the right of the court to adjourn sine die, to give a hearing notice when it is ready with its judgment. But when we say justice must be seen to be done, it's no longer talking about lawyers. It's talking about the man outside there, the wheelbarrow pusher, the rumor-mongering taxi driver, the man who is in the street wandering.
Isn't that stretching it? I mean, because
no,
because I'm sure that if you ask some other, there will be divided opinion on this, in the sense that, of course, not everybody will always agree when judgment is given. That's why there are two sides in a case.
Good.
But both parties must be satisfied that, from what we have been able to reach, or the conclusion of the court, follow due process. In the sense that it was a fair one.
But Malcolm, it's no longer two parties. The position of the law now is that there are three parties. The public.
Oh, that's what
the
I'm saying.
litigant,
I'm saying that you were saying that
the petitioner,
you're stretching
the
it
defendant,
to read
and
that
then
as well.
the public. And that is why, if you notice, the Nigerian public has never forgiven the court for giving a man who stole 29 billion naira of the pension funds a penalty of 750,000 until today. Why is it like that? Because there is a courthouse there.
Even though they said, well, they're applying the books.
That was actually the law at that point. In short, the judge at that point in time applied the maximum penalty. But the third party, which I'm trying to draw attention to, was not satisfied with that judgment.
So also was the second party, even in that judgment. The prosecuting counsel was not also satisfied.
But the point I'm making now is that it is important that we also take the feeling of the Nigerian public into consideration, even though ordinarily what we say, we only apply the law to the facts. But when you apply the law to the facts, or when you are doing the legalese, which we normally do, take cognizance of the fact that that law is for the society. And this speculation that appears to be brewing, why is it connected? Because I noticed you people even ask that question, say, is there any connection between what the court is doing and what the politicians are doing? I can tell you, there could be a connection. I do not know what connection it is.
It's too speculative when you say
that's
cool.
what I'm saying. That's why I use the word could. Otherwise, I should have been able to say there is.
Because I know you just might be in conflict now because you're a lawyer, you're also a politician. But if we have to look, put on the political cap, what would you be saying?
Well, what I'm going to say, or what I should be saying now, is that I do know that politicians take advantage of every lacuna that is in the law. Indeed, they don't even wait for the lacuna. They use the law. Like this situation, the last time I told you that there is a political dimension to the prosecution, it is purely the law that they are taking advantage of. The man did not declare his assets properly and all of that. Let us prosecute him. It is the law that they are using. But they are taking advantage of it to be able to achieve what they couldn't achieve politically.
Is there a nexus?
And at that point in time, it was, why don't we summon some two-thirds majority to remove a man we do not want from our party? And they couldn't do that. They said, wait a minute, we can do it two other ways. And that is what we are seeing now.
Do you see a connection with the ministerial screening?
That I cannot immediately lay my fingers on. Because, you see, if, for instance, the Court of Appeal adjourned sine die, nobody knows whether they will call the litigants tomorrow morning and read their judgment.
Or if that's intention.
Or we are going to wait forever. Even though the position is that 90 days after, the arguments have closed, that the court mandatorily will give a judgment on the matter. So, but at least between now and the next 2 weeks, which the CCT adjourned to, let us see whether they can give a judgment. They can give their judgment. But then, with the ministerial screening, which is almost half done, because I hear 20 of them, 20 ministerial nominees have been approved, so remaining the last batch, and maybe Amechi, who is in the first batch. I do not know whether there is any relationship with buying time here with either the court judgment or who should preside, because I noticed that people were also asking why the Deputy Senate President did not preside over the Senate while Saraki goes to...
Would that, they were on that route before we had the last minute shift of that particular adjournment till today. If that had gone ahead, what would that have meant for us politically looking at the assembly?
Again, you see, the APC doesn't want to play into the hands of PDP, which is now their albatross, as it were. here is a situation where a deputy senate president who they think came by accident and who they are uncomfortable with is now going to preside over the screening of APC nominees. That is a case of reporting Caesar to Caesar. You can always, or by their own prediction, they will think that the person is going to run into problems, especially when the situation is Amechi is now the most contentious ministerial nominee that is to be screened. Amechi is having a lot of problems from his home, which is essentially engineered by the PDP home base.